I'm standing in my kitchen in downtown Chicago, watching my husband Marcus die on the cold marble floor, and all I can think about is how this poison was meant for me. His body is shaking violently. White foam is coming out of his mouth like he's some kind of sick animal. His eyes are wide open, staring at me, but I can tell he can't really see me anymore. He's trying to say something, but only weird choking sounds are coming out. This is all wrong. So very wrong. 30 minutes ago, we were sitting at our dining table like any normal Tuesday night. Marcus had made his famous tomato soup, the same recipe his mom taught him when we first started dating in college. He was being extra sweet tonight, telling me how much he loved me and how lucky he was to have such a successful wife. But I saw what he did. When Marcus thought I wasn't looking, I watched him take a small glass bottle from his pocket. He poured something clear into my soup bowl. It looked like water, but I knew it wasn't. My heart started beating so fast I thought it might explode in my chest. Marcus has been acting strange for weeks, always asking about my business accounts, my life insurance, and who would get my hotels if something happened to me. I own 3 boutique hotels here in Chicago, 2 in Miami, and 1 in Los Angeles. They're worth millions of dollars. But seeing him put something in my food made everything click into place like a horrible puzzle. When his phone rang, Marcus jumped up from the table. "Sorry, honey, it's work. I'll be right back," he said, walking into the living room to take the call. That's when I did it. I quickly switched our soup bowls. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped them. But I managed to put his bowl where mine was, and my bowl where his was. Then I sat back down and tried to look normal, even though my whole body felt like it was on fire with fear. Marcus came back a few minutes later, smiling at me like nothing was wrong. "Sorry about that. Work never stops, you know?" We both started eating our soup. Marcus was talking about his day, asking about my meetings in downtown Chicago, acting like the perfect husband. But I could barely taste anything. I kept watching his face, waiting for something to happen. And then it did. About 20 minutes after we finished eating, Marcus suddenly stopped talking. He was telling me about some boring report he had to finish, and then his words just stopped. His face went really pale, like all the blood had drained out of it. "I don't feel good," he whispered, putting his hand on his stomach. Then he started sweating. Big drops of sweat were rolling down his face even though our house wasn't hot. He tried to stand up from his chair, but his legs gave out and he fell hard onto the kitchen floor. That's when the shaking started. Now I'm watching my husband of 5 years die from whatever poison he put in my soup. The same poison that should have killed me instead. I should call 911, but I can't move. I can't even breathe properly. Marcus's phone is buzzing on the counter. I can see the screen from where I'm standing. It's a text message from someone named S that says, "Is it done? Call me when she's gone." My sister Sophia's name starts with S. My own sister and my husband wanted me dead. I finally grab my phone with shaking hands and call 911. "Please help," I whisper to the operator. "My husband is dying. I think he's been poisoned." But even as I'm saying the words, I know it's too late. Marcus isn't moving anymore. His eyes are still open, but they're empty now. Like nobody's home. The poison that was supposed to kill me in my beautiful Chicago penthouse has killed him instead, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do now. What would you do if you discovered your own family was trying to kill you? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter where we'll find out exactly how long Marcus and Sophia have been planning this betrayal. 3 weeks ago, everything in my life was perfect. At least, that's what I thought. I was sitting in my corner office on the 40th floor of the Willis Tower in Chicago, looking out at Lake Michigan and feeling like I owned the world. And in many ways, I did. My hotel business was booming. The Victoria Grand in downtown Chicago was fully booked for the next 6 months. My Miami Beach location was making more money than I ever dreamed possible. Even my newest hotel in Beverly Hills was already turning a profit. I had worked so hard to build this empire, started with nothing but a small loan and a big dream when I was just 22 years old. Now, at 29, I was worth over $15 million. Marcus seemed so proud of me back then. He would brag to his friends about his successful wife. "My Victoria is going to be the next big hotel mogul," he would say at dinner parties in our Lincoln Park neighborhood. "I'm just lucky she chose me." But looking back now, I can see when things started to change. It began with small questions that seemed innocent at the time. Marcus would ask me about my business accounts while we were having breakfast. "Honey, which bank do you use for the hotel profits?" he would say, sipping his coffee like it was just casual conversation. Or he would bring up my life insurance while we were watching TV in our living room. "Victoria, do you think we have enough life insurance? What happens to your hotels if something bad happens to you?" I thought he was just being a caring husband, planning for our future together, maybe thinking about having kids someday and wanting to make sure we were financially secure. But then I started noticing other things. Marcus began asking me detailed questions about my daily schedule. Where was I going? Who was I meeting with? What time would I be home? He said he just wanted to plan nice dinners for us, but it felt like he was keeping track of my every move. My sister Sophia started coming around more often too. She would show up at our house in Lincoln Park unannounced, always when I was at work. Marcus would tell me later, "Oh, Sophia stopped by. We just talked about family stuff." Sophia had always been jealous of my success. Growing up in our small apartment on the south side of Chicago, she would get angry whenever I got good grades or won awards at school. "Why does Victoria get everything?" she would complain to our parents. When I started my first hotel, Sophia made mean comments about how I was showing off and thinking I'm better than everyone. But I thought she had gotten over that jealousy. She was 26 now, old enough to be happy for her sister's success. I was wrong. One evening, I came home early from a meeting in downtown Chicago and found Marcus and Sophia sitting very close together on our couch. They were talking in whispers, and when they saw me, they quickly moved apart. "Hey, honey," Marcus said, his voice sounding fake and too cheerful. "Sophia was just telling me about her new job." But Sophia looked guilty, like a kid who got caught stealing cookies. And Marcus kept fidgeting with his hands, which he only did when he was nervous. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't figure out what it was. Marcus was lying next to me, breathing normally, but I kept thinking about how weird they had acted. The next week, I decided to check our computer history. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I had to know what Marcus was doing online when I wasn't home. What I found made my blood turn cold. Marcus had been searching for things like untraceable poisons, how to make death look natural, and life insurance payout after spouse death. He had also been looking up information about my business accounts and how to transfer ownership of my hotels. I printed out all the search history and hid it in my office at the Willis Tower. I didn't know what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to confront Marcus directly, but another part of me was scared of what he might do if he knew I was suspicious. I started paying closer attention to everything Marcus did, and that's when I noticed he had been going through my purse, looking at my phone when I was in the shower, and asking my business partner James strange questions about my health and stress levels. My perfect marriage was falling apart, and I was just beginning to understand how dangerous my situation really was. 2 weeks after finding those horrible search results on our computer, my body started betraying me in ways I had never experienced before. It started with my stomach. Every morning, I would wake up in our Lincoln Park home feeling like someone had twisted my insides into knots. The pain was so bad that I could barely stand up straight. I thought maybe I was just stressed from work, but it kept getting worse. Then came the nausea. I couldn't keep food down, especially in the mornings. Marcus would make me breakfast before I left for my office at the Willis Tower, and I would have to run to the bathroom to throw up. He seemed so concerned, always asking if I needed to see a doctor. "Maybe you're working too hard, honey," he would say, rubbing my back while I was bent over the toilet. "All those trips between Chicago, Miami, and Los Angeles are probably wearing you out." But the worst part was my hair. I started finding clumps of it on my pillow every morning. Long strands of my dark brown hair would come out when I brushed it. I had always been proud of my thick, healthy hair, and now it was falling out like I was some kind of sick person. My business partner James noticed the changes right away. We were having lunch at a restaurant near Navy Pier when he stopped eating and stared at me. "Victoria, you look terrible," he said, his voice full of worry. "When's the last time you saw a doctor? You've lost at least 15 pounds in the past month." I looked down at my hands and realized he was right. My wedding ring was loose on my finger. My clothes were hanging off my body like they belonged to someone bigger. "I've just been tired," I told him, but even I didn't believe my own words. James insisted I see Dr. Thompson, our family doctor in downtown Chicago. I made an appointment for the next week, but deep down, I was starting to suspect that my sickness wasn't natural. That weekend, while Marcus was supposedly at his office in the Loop, I decided to search our house. I started in his home office, going through every drawer and cabinet. Most of it was normal stuff: bills, work papers, old photos of us from happier times. But then I found his workshop in our basement. Marcus had always been handy, fixing things around the house and building furniture. But hidden behind his toolbox, I found something that made my heart stop beating for a moment. 3 small glass bottles with clear liquid inside. They had no labels, but they smelled like nothing at all. Just like the liquid I had seen him pour into my soup that terrible night. Next to the bottles was a notebook with my daily schedule written in Marcus's handwriting. He had been tracking when I left for work, when I came home, what I ate for breakfast and dinner, like I was some kind of science experiment. I took pictures of everything with my phone and put the bottles back exactly where I found them. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone steady. That evening, Marcus made dinner like always: grilled chicken with rice and vegetables. He served my plate first, smiling at me like the loving husband he pretended to be. "Eat up, honey," he said. "You need to get your strength back." I pushed the food around on my plate, pretending to eat while watching Marcus carefully. He seemed nervous, checking his phone every few minutes and glancing at me to see if I was actually eating. When he got up to use the bathroom, I quickly scraped most of my food into a napkin and hid it in my purse. I would throw it away at work tomorrow. Later that night, I heard Marcus talking quietly on his phone in the living room. I crept to the top of our stairs and listened. "She's getting sicker faster than we expected," he was saying. "Maybe we should slow down a little bit." A woman's voice was talking back, but I couldn't hear what she was saying clearly. It sounded like Sophia, but I couldn't be sure. "No, you're right," Marcus continued. "We need to stick to the plan. Just a few more weeks and this will all be over." I crawled back to our bedroom and pretended to be asleep when Marcus came upstairs. But I lay awake all night, finally understanding the truth. My husband was slowly poisoning me to death, and my own sister was helping him do it. I couldn't take the uncertainty anymore. I needed proof of what Marcus and Sophia were doing to me, so I decided to set up hidden cameras in our Lincoln Park home. The next morning, while Marcus was at his office downtown, I drove to an electronics store in Wicker Park and bought 3 tiny wireless cameras. The salesperson showed me how to connect them to my phone so I could watch everything from my office at the Willis Tower. I placed one camera in our kitchen, hidden behind a coffee canister on the counter. Another one went in Marcus's basement workshop, tucked between some paint cans where he kept those mysterious bottles. The third camera I put in our living room, behind a picture frame on the bookshelf. For 3 days, I watched normal, boring footage of Marcus doing regular husband things: making coffee, watching TV, working on his laptop. I started to think maybe I was going crazy. Maybe the stress of running hotels in Chicago, Miami, and Los Angeles was making me paranoid. But on Thursday afternoon, everything changed. I was in my office reviewing profit reports from my Beverly Hills hotel when my phone buzzed with an alert from the living room camera. I opened the app and saw Sophia sitting on our couch with Marcus. They were sitting much closer than a sister-in-law and brother-in-law should be. I turned up the volume on my phone and listened to their conversation. "How much longer do we have to keep doing this?" Sophia was saying, running her fingers through her blonde hair. "I'm tired of pretending to care about Victoria when I see her." Marcus took her hand and squeezed it. "Just a few more weeks, baby," The doctor said the arsenic needs to build up slowly in her system or it will look suspicious. Arsenic. They were poisoning me with arsenic. I've been putting it in her morning coffee and dinner for almost 2 months now, Marcus continued. She's losing weight and getting weaker every day. Soon it will look like she died from stress and overwork. Sophia leaned closer to Marcus and kissed him on the lips. Not a family kiss. A romantic kiss between two people who were in love. I can't wait until we can be together openly, she whispered. Once Victoria is gone, we'll have all her money and her hotels. We can get married and live in that beautiful penthouse in Miami. My own sister was planning to marry my husband after they murdered me. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Sophia something on the screen. Look, I've been forging Victoria's signature on these documents. When she dies, you'll be listed as the beneficiary of all her businesses instead of me. That way, no one will suspect that I killed her for money. You're so smart, Sophia said, kissing him again. Victoria always thought she was the smart sister, but she has no idea what's happening right under her nose. They talked for another hour about their plans. How they would make my death look like a heart attack caused by work stress. How they would sell my Chicago hotels and move to California together. How they had been having an affair for over a year, meeting in secret while I was traveling for business. Sophia even talked about how jealous she had always been of my success. Victoria got everything handed to her, she said bitterly. The smart one, the successful one, the one who could do no wrong. Well, now it's my turn to have the perfect life. I recorded everything on my phone, my hands shaking with anger and betrayal. These two people I loved most in the world had been slowly killing me for months while planning their future together. But the worst part came at the end of their conversation. When should we give her the final dose? Sophia asked. Marcus thought for a moment. Next Tuesday. I'll put enough arsenic in her dinner to kill her within a few hours. Then I'll call 911 and act like the devastated husband who found his wife dead from a heart attack. And then we'll be free, Sophia said, smiling like she was talking about a vacation instead of my murder. They kissed goodbye, and Sophia left through our back door so the neighbors wouldn't see her. I sat in my office on the 40th floor of the Willis Tower, looking out at Lake Michigan, and realized I had 5 days to figure out how to save my own life. My husband and sister had been poisoning me for 2 months, and they were planning to finish the job next Tuesday. But now I knew their plan, and I was going to make sure it backfired in the worst possible way. Tuesday night arrived faster than I wanted it to. I sat at our dining table in Lincoln Park, watching Marcus serve our soup, knowing this was supposed to be my last meal. But Marcus had no idea that I knew everything. For the past 5 days, I had been pretending to eat the food he poisoned while secretly throwing it away. I felt stronger than I had in months. My hair stopped falling out, my stomach pain was gone, and I could think clearly again. Marcus seemed excited tonight, almost giddy as he stirred the tomato soup. I made your favorite, he said, smiling at me like he actually cared. You've been looking so tired lately. I thought some comfort food might help. I watched him carefully as he ladled the soup into our bowls. When he thought I wasn't looking, he pulled out a small glass bottle from his pocket. This time, he poured much more of the clear liquid into my bowl than I had ever seen before. Enough to kill me within hours, just like he had told Sophia. I'll be right back, Marcus said when his phone rang. Work call. He walked into the living room, and I could hear him talking quietly. I knew he was probably telling Sophia that it was done, that I would be dead soon. This was my chance. My hands were shaking, but I quickly switched our soup bowls. The bowl with enough arsenic to kill me was now sitting in front of Marcus's chair. The clean bowl was in front of mine. When Marcus came back, he was practically glowing with happiness. Sorry about that, honey. You know how demanding work can be. We both started eating our soup. Marcus was talking about his day, asking about my meetings in downtown Chicago, acting like the perfect husband. But I could see the excitement in his eyes. He thought he was watching me eat my last meal. "This soup is delicious," I said, taking another spoonful from the clean bowl. "You're such a good cook." Marcus beamed with pride. "Anything for my beautiful wife." About 20 minutes after we finished eating, I was washing dishes when I heard Marcus make a strange sound behind me. I turned around and saw his face had gone completely white. "I don't feel right," he whispered, gripping the edge of the table. Then the sweating started. Big drops of sweat were rolling down his face, even though our house was cool. His hands were shaking as he tried to stand up from his chair. "Victoria?" he gasped. "Something's wrong. I think I need to go to the hospital." But before he could take a step, his legs gave out, and he crashed to the kitchen floor. That's when the convulsions started. Marcus's whole body was shaking violently. White foam was coming out of his mouth, and his eyes were wide with terror. He was trying to say something, but only choking sounds were coming out. I stood there watching my husband die from the poison he had meant for me, and I felt no sympathy at all. This man had been slowly killing me for 2 months while planning a future with my sister. Marcus's phone was buzzing on the counter. I picked it up and saw a text message from Sophia. "Is it done? Call me when she's gone. I love you." My own sister was waiting to hear that I was dead. I looked down at Marcus, who was still convulsing on our kitchen floor. His eyes found mine, and for a moment I think he understood what had happened. I think he realized that I had switched the bowls. "You were going to kill me," I said quietly, kneeling down next to him. "You and Sophia were going to take everything I worked for and live happily ever after." Marcus tried to speak, but only blood came out of his mouth now. I found another text on his phone, one he had written but not sent yet. "It's done. She'll be gone by morning. Can't wait to start our new life together." He had also prepared a suicide note on his laptop, making it look like I had killed myself because of work stress. Every detail of my murder had been planned perfectly, except for one thing. Marcus never expected me to figure out his plan and turn it against him. Now he was dying from his own poison, and I was completely fine. I called 911 with shaking hands, watching Marcus take his final breaths on our kitchen floor. "911, what's your emergency?" the operator asked. "My husband is dying," I said, trying to sound panicked instead of relieved. "I think he's been poisoned. Please send help to 1247 North Cleveland Avenue in Lincoln Park." "Ma'am, is he conscious? Is he breathing?" I looked down at Marcus. His body had stopped shaking. His eyes were still open, but they were empty now. "No, I think he's gone." The paramedics arrived first, followed by 2 police officers. Detective Rivera was a tall woman with short black hair who immediately started asking me questions, while the paramedics confirmed that Marcus was dead. "Mrs. Victoria Martinez, I'm Detective Rivera with Chicago PD. Can you tell me what happened here tonight?" I had practiced this story in my head. We were having dinner together, just normal soup and bread. About 30 minutes after we ate, Marcus said he didn't feel well. Then he collapsed and started shaking. I've never seen anything like it. Detective Rivera was writing everything down in her notebook. "Did your husband have any health problems? Heart issues, allergies, anything like that?" "No, he was perfectly healthy. He just had a physical exam last month and everything was fine." The detective looked around our kitchen, taking pictures of everything. She bagged our soup bowls and the pot Marcus had used to cook dinner. "Ma'am, I have to ask this, but were you and your husband having any problems? Any fights or disagreements recently?" This was the moment I had been dreading. "No, we were very happy together. Marcus was always so supportive of my business. I owned several hotels, and he was proud of my success." But Detective Rivera was smart. I could see her looking at me carefully, studying my face for signs that I was lying. "Mrs. Martinez, I'm going to need you to come to the station tomorrow for a more detailed interview. This appears to be a suspicious death, and we need to investigate thoroughly." After the police left and Marcus's body was taken away, I sat alone in our house feeling scared for the first time. What if they thought I had poisoned him? What if they didn't believe my story? The next morning, I went to the police station in downtown Chicago with a lawyer. Detective Rivera sat across from me in a small room with gray walls and asked me the same questions over and over again. Mrs. Martinez, your husband died from arsenic poisoning. That's not something that happens by accident. Someone deliberately put poison in his food. I don't understand, I said, pretending to be confused. Who would want to hurt Marcus? He was such a good man. That's what we're trying to figure out. Did Marcus have any enemies? Anyone who might want him dead? I shook my head. Everyone loved Marcus. He was kind and gentle and... Then I pretended to have a sudden realization. Wait, there is something. I've been feeling sick for the past few months. Stomach problems, hair loss, fatigue. My doctor couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Detective Rivera leaned forward. What are you saying? What if someone was trying to poison me, and Marcus ate the wrong food by mistake? I could see the detective's mind working. Do you have any idea who might want to hurt you? This was my chance. I've been having some problems with my sister Sophia. She's always been jealous of my business success. And lately, she's been spending a lot of time with Marcus when I'm not home. I pulled out my phone and showed Detective Rivera the videos I had recorded. I installed cameras in my house because I was suspicious about their relationship. The detective watched the footage of Marcus and Sophia planning my murder, her eyes getting wider with each minute. Mrs. Martinez, this changes everything. Your husband and sister were planning to kill you. I can't believe it, I said, starting to cry real tears for the first time since this whole nightmare began. My own sister and my husband wanted me dead. Detective Rivera stood up quickly. We need to find Sophia immediately. Do you know where she might be? I gave them Sophia's address, her work information, and her phone number. Within 2 hours, they had arrested her at Chicago O'Hare Airport. She was trying to board a flight to Mexico with a fake passport and $50,000 in cash that she had stolen from my business accounts. The truth was finally coming out, and justice was about to be served. 6 months later, I sat in the Cook County Courthouse in downtown Chicago, watching my sister Sophia get sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The judge, an older woman with gray hair and stern eyes, looked down at Sophia with disgust. Ms. Sophia Chen, you have been found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree. You and the deceased, Marcus Martinez, planned and executed a deliberate attempt to poison your own sister for financial gain. Sophia was wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. She looked nothing like the beautiful, confident woman who used to visit my home in Lincoln Park. Her blonde hair was greasy and unwashed. Her face was pale and thin from months in jail. The evidence against you is overwhelming, the judge continued. Video recordings of you planning the victim's death, forged documents attempting to steal her business assets, and your attempt to flee the country with stolen money. This court sentences you to life in prison without parole. Sophia finally looked at me for the first time during the trial. Her eyes were filled with hatred, not remorse. Even now, facing life in prison, she was still angry that I had survived and she had been caught. The prosecutor, a young man named David Kim, had done an excellent job presenting the case. He showed the jury all the evidence I had gathered, the hidden camera footage, Marcus's internet search history, the forged documents, and the arsenic found in our home. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he had said during closing arguments, this was not a crime of passion. This was a calculated, cold-blooded murder plot that lasted for months. The defendant slowly poisoned Victoria Martinez while planning to steal her life's work and live happily ever after. The defense lawyer tried to argue that Sophia was manipulated by Marcus, that she was just a victim of his evil plan, but the jury saw through that lie. The video evidence clearly showed Sophia was an equal partner in planning my death. After the sentencing, I walked out of the courthouse into the bright Chicago sunshine. My business partner James was waiting for me on the courthouse steps. "How do you feel?" he asked, giving me a supportive hug. "Free," I said, and I meant it. For the first time in months, I feel completely free. My health had returned to normal once I stopped eating Marcus's poisoned food. My hair grew back thick and shiny. I gained back the weight I had lost. Most importantly, I could sleep peacefully at night knowing that no one was trying to kill me. My business was doing better than ever. The Victoria Grand in Chicago was booked solid through next year. My Miami Beach hotel had been featured in Travel Leisure magazine as one of the top luxury destinations in Florida. Even my Beverly Hills location was expanding to include a spa and conference center. But the best part was that I had learned to trust my instincts. When something felt wrong, I didn't ignore it anymore. I had installed better security systems in all my properties and hired a personal bodyguard for business trips. 3 weeks after the trial, I decided to visit Sophia in prison. I needed closure, and I wanted to hear her explain why she had tried to kill her own sister. The Stateville Correctional Center was a depressing place with gray walls and barbed wire fences. Sophia looked even worse than she had in court. Prison life was clearly not agreeing with her. "Why did you do it?" I asked her through the thick glass window that separated us. Sophia was quiet for a long time. Then she finally spoke. "You always had everything, Victoria. The good grades, the successful business, the perfect life. I was tired of being the failure sister." "So you decided to kill me?" "Marcus said it would be easy, that we could make it look like an accident and no one would ever know." Sophia's voice was flat, emotionless. "I thought I deserved your life more than you did." I looked at my sister, this woman who had shared my childhood and my family, and felt nothing but pity for her. "I forgive you, Sophia," I said, "but I never want to see you again." I walked out of that prison and drove back to my penthouse in Chicago, ready to build a new life surrounded by people who truly cared about me. Justice had been served, and I was finally safe.